So now I'm going to move over to how to market your Reg A Plus, especially in the context of a series offering, but not exclusively that. So one thing to know is that most of the Main Street investors who engage and that are entertained by that choose to invest in a Reg A Plus are optimists. It's a completely different thing than institutional investors and many accredited investors. Wealthy investors tend to have so many options before them, they tend to be more skeptical, which is fair enough. So, to give you an idea of what I mean, we've had days where advertising outreach in social media drew in investors to a particular offering that was put together well. And they looked at the offering page and they liked it enough that they clicked the Invest Now button, which we have on our site, of course. And we asked them for their email and their phone number. They provided that information and then went on. Of the people who clicked the button and gave us that information, we've had days where 70%, 70% invested on their first visit. So, when that happens, we're dealing with optimists, right? We are dealing with optimists. And I see a lot of that because I monitor the email traffic going to our companies, our client companies, CEOs, and their other team members to make sure that they know how to answer those questions and make sure that they are answering the questions that come in. They're not that many, but I pay attention to it. And it's amazing to see how optimistic some of these folks are. So a company that never talked about doing an IPO anywhere, never mentioned it, never hinted at it. Um, Jim, who invested 3 months ago, will fire off an email to the CEO asking him, when's the IPO? So that's an optimist. So just know that because it makes a very big difference as to what kinds of offerings can succeed in a low cost marketing way. Main Street investors, 60%, 70% of the investments are made on a smartphone, Apple obviously and Android, on a tablet and a PC as well, one or other of the computers, but mobile phone is the dominant. 55% of investments are made via debit credit cards, and ACH is another 40%, and the rest is checks and wires. And institutions do invest these days in Reg A Plus. That is new in the last 2 years. Continuing on how to market, if you have an established brand or if you are a social media influencer, if you have a lot of followers, then the cost of outreach to your followers and fans is drastically lower, which can make a Reg A Plus offering an extremely cost-effective way to raise money. That's one of the reasons I chose to put this Reg A Plus webinar together, is because it's so cost-effective when all you have is the legal filing and the audit and some other miscellaneous fees, but you're not spending megabucks to bring in every investor because you've got a large fan base, so you can bring them in with your own communications. So that's a fantastic thing. I think the lowest cost Reg A Plus that we've done so far, we're helping a client, was a biotech company where their total cost of capital was 6.5%, but that included all of their advertising expense, all their expenses for their Reg A Plus. So very exciting delivery in that case. But if they had been dealing with fans, that could have come down to 2.5%. Could easily have been a 2.5% total cost of raise. I mentioned social media advertising is the most effective outreach vehicle to people who don't already know your company. That when we need to do that, that's the most effective vehicle. The ads have to have a clickable link in them so that the investor can see what the terms of the offering are, what the offering circular, which is what it's called when the offering is qualified. The SEC uses the term offering circular with all the details and the audit numbers in them and so forth. And the SEC's restrictions on the kind of advertising you can do are mostly reasonable. Nothing terribly unexpected there. You can't use hype, for example. You can't introduce a new product and say it's going to replace everyone else. We're revolutionizing the market. That's too grand a claim. An advantage of a series offering is that having pinpoint precision. This is the building we're offering. This is the vintage car we're offering. This is the racehorse we're offering. It's much more motivating. It's much easier to get investors. When they're narrowing in on something they really like. So that makes for lower cost marketing itself. And of course, in the case of many alternative investments like jewelry and art, select art and select jewelry, and select vintage cars, they're appreciating assets with a very strong track record. So the track record speaks for itself, and that makes it much easier to market the offering and raise money because people can see, oh, if I buy this diamond and this quality, I can see what the benchmarks have done for diamonds of this quality. So that makes it less expensive to market. The nature of being a series of separate little offerings, they're much smaller, so they run out of capacity quickly. That makes it easier to raise money. And the fact that a lot of them are attractive investments that already have a following, so playing cards, trading cards, vintage cards for that matter, they already have a following. So it makes it much easier to market the raise. Um, Having an app helps. These days, having an app is a good thing for this type of raise, for communication, better communication with the investors and engagement of them, because that engagement is such a valuable thing.